Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another video. In the past I've made videos about films that are only on DVD that quote unquote deserve a Blu-ray, but I thought I would actually give some suggestions of Criterion films that are only on a DVD that could do with a Blu-ray or even a 4K upgrade. Obviously Criterion are always adding new films to their collection, but I think some of these films that they've only got on DVD could do with some Blu-ray treatment, which they do occasionally. So I'm just going to go through a little pile. Obviously these are only films from the Criterion collection that I actually have in my collection myself. But please feel free to give suggestions, your own suggestions of films in the Criterion collection that are only on DVD that could do with an upgrade. Now obviously, you know, popularity's got something to do with it, whether an upgrade would actually make sense from a business perspective. Is it going to bring in money? And sometimes there's rights and things like that. We're going to start with David Mamet's Homicide from 1991. Now they did upgrade House of Games, his debut, but for me Homicide is the better film, as much as I love House of Games. And this stars Joe Mantegna as a cop who gets caught up investigating the shooting death of an old lady, an old Jewish lady, and as he is a Jew himself, he gets dumped with the case while there's a bigger case that he was a part of going on. It's wonderful support with William H. Macy in an early role. Obviously he came up with Mamet in Chicago theatre, and a lot of Mamet regulars, and it's one of the best American films about race. And does your race or religion come first over your job, and the sacrifices that you then have to make for your job if your race or your religion is more important to you? It's just got some wonderful salty David Mamet language, and it is just absolutely wonderful. So Homicide, they've done House of Games, so I don't see why they can't upgrade Homicide. Now there's some samurai films from the 60s. The Sword of the Beast by Gosha. This is from 1965. This is by number 311. While this might not be as wonderful as Sword of Doom or some of Kurosawa's samurai films, this is a lot of fun. And again, samurai films generally look much better in Blu-ray. Shot composition and action are essential. In these stunning black and white samurai films from the 60s, really should be upgraded. So we've got another one here. This is by number 313. This is Kell by Okamoto. This is from 1968. This comes from the same novel that Sanjuro came from. And again, this is a lot of fun as well, and this could be easily upgraded. And then Kobayashi's Samurai Rebellion, which is spine number 310. There's a kind of group. I think this was originally a box set as well at some point. And again, as I'll get to later, we could have definitely some more Kobayashi. On Blu-ray, this is from 1967, and this starts to share my phone, so why wouldn't you put this on Blu-ray? Next is arguably my second favourite Louis Malle film. This is Le Faux Filet, which I don't think is on Blu-ray. Again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because chances are I will be wrong if some of these actually are on Criterion Blu-ray. But this is just wonderful, from 1963, starring Maurice Ronet as somebody who feels like he wants to kill himself, but he goes around his friends to try and get a renewed spark for life. This is The Fire Within, or Will o' the Wisp, or Le Faux Filet, whichever title you want to use. A great performance by Ronet, who was also in Elevator to the Gallows or Lift to the Scaffold, whichever title you want to use, which is probably my favourite Louis Malle. But this is just absolutely fantastic and doesn't necessarily go the way you'll think, or the way perhaps a Hollywood film might. Next is an early Bertolucci film, La Comare Secca, or The Grim Reaper. I think I did a double take video on this. This is a wonderful little film. This is Bertolucci's debut, about a corpse that's found in the investigation. It's much more, it's grittier and less arty perhaps than some of Bertolucci's later films, and it has a real cynicism, but again that black and white cinematography could really do with a polish. And this is spine number 272. That's The Grim Reaper. Next was a film that Gray 1951, his channel, he kind of intrigued me by. This is Something Wild, starring Carol Baker and Ralph Meeker, from 1961, spine number 830, 850 even. Again, my old eyes sometimes can't read the spine numbers on Criterions. Obviously they have the Jonathan Demme film, Something Wild, but this is something a little bit different. This is perhaps the follow-on from Ida Lupino's Outrage, about a sexual assault. And this one is about Carol Baker, who gets sexually assaulted, and then her reaction to people around her, men around her, including Ralph Meeker. It's one of those wonderful kind of New York films with a real sense of place. There is a real atmosphere of dread and kind of uncomfortable ness, which I'm not sure is a word. Again, a difficult film, a challenging film, not something that perhaps people would be excited to see on Blu-ray, but again, more wonderful black and white 60s cinematography, more kind of location shooting. It's directed by Jack Garfien. Yeah, so Something Wild, I think, could do with a Blu-ray. Next is Goku, by Nobu Nakagawa, from 1960. This is in colour, and it's a descent into hell. It's one of the first kind of almost acknowledged Japanese horror films, as opposed to like ghost stories or whatever. This is just beautiful, wonderful imagery, and again, because it's in living colour, a Blu-ray or a 4K of this would be absolutely stunning. Now granted, perhaps not many people are looking for a Blu-ray of this, but it's a film that should definitely be seen more. And this is Spy number 352, and because it's in colour, a Blu-ray would certainly make the visions of hell come to life. Next is Ballad of a Soldier. This is Spy number 148. This is a really simple story of a Russian soldier, bizarrely. This must be one of the early Criterion. Obviously it is, it's Spy number 148. It's pretty bare bones, but it probably does deserve a bit more exposure. And again, black and white cinematography. It's from 1959. It's only 88 minutes. But again, it's simple but lyrical and quite beautiful. So Ballad of a Soldier could do with a bit of an upgrade, I think. And then now, perhaps not a similar sized box, but Orson Welles' Mr. Arkadin, or Confidential Report, which is Spy number 322, which comes with a big book. And this one has various cuts of the film. I think it's actually got 3 different cuts of the film. Obviously Orson Welles is an important figure. Most of his films are on Blu-ray. Criterion has a few of his films on Blu-ray as well, even the very short Immortal Story. So they could easily release a slightly smaller package for the complete Mr. Arkadin. A twisty-turny labyrinth mystery, kind of along the lines of Citizen Kane, I guess, with another mysterious king figure played by Welles himself. It's a bit of a mess, but again, it still has those wonderful Wellesian moments, and a wonderful special edition with all the different cuts would be quite enjoyable for us Orson Welles fans, or just fans of wonderful black and white cinematography, as Orson Welles' shot composition is amongst the very best in the business. Next is, we're kind of just getting to certain filmmakers, but Kurosawa, yes, people perhaps look at him a little bit differently now as people have moved on to more, perhaps less traditional filmmakers and more avant-garde filmmakers. But Kurosawa, perhaps again a gateway director for a lot of people in the West into Asian cinema and specifically Japanese cinema. And yes, I do believe there's Japanese Blu-rays of these films available, but as far as the Criterion collection, why Drunken Angel doesn't have a Blu-ray is baffling. This is Spy number 413. Again, wonderful Shimura and Mifune collaboration. Wonderful cinematography, as you'd expect. Shot composition, as you'd expect. Another baffling one, Stray Dog, which to me is one of Kurosawa's early masterworks. Again, with Mifune and Shimura. You really need this on Blu-ray to get all that dust in high definition as Mifune desperately trawls around Tokyo trying to find his lost police issue revolver. And Shimura is the more veteran, seasoned cop that helps him out. It's just an absolutely beautiful film. And again, why this isn't on Criterion Blu-ray is pretty baffling. We also have the Lower Depths set, which is the Jean Renoir version of Gorsky's novel from 1936, and then Kurosawa's from 1957. Yes, it's minor Kurosawa, but again, it's got an excellent Mifune performance, and it's got a wonderful final kick in the teeth. And again, they had the Killers double, which Arrow Academy then released on Blu-ray. This is a Lower Depths double pack, which certainly might not be as dynamic a film as Stray Dog or Drunken Angel, but that should really have a Criterion Blu-ray as well. Red Beard, apart from anything else from a historical perspective, it's the last film that Mifune and Kurosawa did together before they fell out. This is from 1965, 185 glorious minutes, as Mifune plays a doctor with fairly uncommon methods. Again, brilliant performances, fantastic shot composition, and there's even a hilarious fight scene where at the end Mifune's character says, "Perhaps I've gone too far." And then The Bad Sleep Well doesn't have a Criterion Blu-ray, which again is a little bit like Hamlet. This is from 1960. This is another urban film, again with another Mifune performance. Great shot composition. And again, why these kind of perhaps lesser known, well, not really lesser known, but less famous than these other films don't have Criterion upgrades to Blu-ray. I mean, there's always a rumour that Criterion might have a Kurosawa box set on Blu-ray at some point. Obviously Fellini's had one and Bergman's had one. But it is a little bit strange that Kurosawa's films that are in the Criterion collection haven't been upgraded. Obviously some of them have. And then another master filmmaker, Michael Powell, The Small Back Room, which is one of the little black and white films in between the Technicolor masterpieces, but this one isn't too far off being a masterpiece about a bomb disposal expert, played by David Farrar, who doesn't wear shorts in this film, unlike Black Narcissus. 1949 is wonderful cinematography, not the dream sequence, but the alcoholic sequence is just fantastic. It's one of their lesser known but just stunningly well made films with great performances, wonderful sense of humour, and Powell's sense or use of the camera is just wonderful. So The Small Back Room, I know other companies have done a good job recently of restoring Powell and Pressburger films, like BFI with One of Our Aircraft is Missing. But as I've said before, it should be a law that every Powell and Pressburger film gets a Blu-ray or 4K. And then the real puzzler for me, again, there's always reasons why films perhaps don't get Blu-ray upgrades, but I know where I'm going. Obviously Criterion recently did Tales of Hoffman getting an upgrade from DVD to Blu-ray, but I know where I'm going. Well, for me at least, is one of their straight up masterworks. It was arguably Michael Powell's favourite film. He did love the Highlands of Scotland, and the music from I Know Where I'm Going was played at his funeral. This is just such a great film. It's a short film, but it's really about getting lost in the countryside and nature. Great performances by Roger Livesey and Wendy Hiller. It's just a stunning film, and again, why this isn't on, hasn't had a Criterion upgrade, I'm not quite sure. Again, this is partly owned by Carlton, but this should have a Blu-ray because it's an absolutely stunningly beautiful film. And as I said, it should have a Blu-ray because it's arguably Michael Powell's favourite film. And then another filmmaker that, yes, has some famous or kind of well-known films in Blu-ray, as I pointed out earlier, with Samurai Rebellion. But this Eclipse set of Masaki Kobayashi Against the System, the 4 films in this Eclipse should really have Blu-rays. I mean, Kobayashi has kind of rocketed up my board of favourite directors if you checked out my director list. Obviously The Human Condition is a game changer, obviously Kwaidan and Harakiri, but these 4 are all fabulous. The Thick-Walled Room, about prisoners of war, or Japanese prisoners of war after the war, imprisoned by Japan. I Will Buy You, which is kind of a wonderful satire on baseball and capitalism. Black River, which is a really kind of seedy post-war noir, with Nakadai, who also appeared in The Human Condition. And The Inheritance, again, a satire of post-war Japan and capitalism and greed and kind of backstabbing and treachery within a family. I mean, all 4 of these films are absolutely wonderful, and yes, they perhaps don't reach the height of his more famous masterpieces that have had Blu-ray upgrades, but this whole set should be a Criterion box set, basically, because the more Kobayashi we can see in high definition, the better. So that's just a few Criterion DVDs that I think should get an upgrade. Obviously I don't make those decisions. Would people actually want upgrades? Would they sell? Would they make money? Who knows? But that's just my little list anyway. But again, please let me know what Criterion only DVDs or Criterion DVDs only you feel should get a Blu-ray or 4K upgrade. So thanks very much for watching. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.